watch your tone. I'm too fine to be so alone. Not my kind, he's a clone. I'ma get money no matter the cost. Having some water, I'm having some boast. Got that dope dick, that's your loss. He's a worker and I am a boss. Little baby, you out, you know you was wrong. You lying, watch your tone. I'm too fine to...
Or be evidence related to the witness development and the prior instance of revenge.
Okay. All right, any objection to the proposed limiting instruction, Mr. Booker?
Judge, we previously objected to this evidence even being admitted, so we just handled that objection, but not to the limited instruction.
Okay, understood. You're not waiving your objection
Yes, Your Honor.
to the evidence coming in, but I will give them this limiting instruction before she testifies. All right, ready? Let's bring the jurors in and then we'll call the witness.
But they're offering these additional witnesses to basically show character. Like one of the witnesses that I showed outside of this one, she was offered up to basically show that these prior acts that could be considered R word happened and people were afraid to do something about it and they kind of went with the flow or just left out of fear. Now, I believe that's going to be the same thing with Velvet's testimony, is to offer up her testimony as a corroborance of character and fear that they feel in how things happen. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I really don't know how the defense will swing it. They did a really good job with the detective. That was the first time where I was like, okay, Booker is really doing his thing. Like he was really like trying to poke holes in like the investigation part of it. But I think that the actual member's testimony holds way more weight than what holes he poked and everything like that. So
another limiting instruction. Again, sometimes evidence is admitted for a limited purpose or for some counts and not others. Such evidence may be considered by the jury for the sole issue or purpose or only for the counts for which the evidence is limited and not for any other purpose. In order to prove its case in counts 3 through 5, the state must show intent and may show motive. To do so, the state has offered evidence of other acts allegedly committed by the accused. You are permitted to consider that evidence only insofar as it may relate to those issues and not for any other purpose. You may not infer from such evidence that the defendant is of a character that would commit such crimes. The evidence may be considered only to the extent that it may show the elements or issues that the state is required or authorized to prove in the crimes charged in the case now on trial. Such evidence, if any, may not be considered by you for any other purpose. The defendant is on trial for the offenses charged in this bill of indictment only and not for any other acts, even though such acts may incidentally be criminal. Before you may consider any other alleged acts for the limited purposes stated, you must first determine whether it is more likely than not that the accused committed the other alleged acts. If so, you must then determine whether the acts shed any light on the elements of the offenses or issues for which the act was admitted in the crimes charged in the indictment in this trial. Remember, keep in mind the limited use and the prohibited use of this evidence about other acts of the defendant. By giving this instruction, the court in no way suggests to you that the defendant has or has not committed any other acts, nor whether such acts, if committed, prove anything. This is solely a matter for your determination. You may proceed.
Velvet, how old are you today?
I'm 27.
When did you first hear of Eligio Bishop?
In February of 2017.
How did you come to learn about him?
I was on social media in college studying agriculture, and when I came across his video, it kind of just popped up on my feed. Later down the line, I realized why it popped up on my feed, because when people are searching your name on social media platforms, their algorithm, whatever their content is, starts to pop up on your content. So that's how it came across my feed. And I watched his video, and he was in nature with another woman. And then it was pretty interesting what he was talking about, because I was studying agriculture and I had some of the same, thought processes. So I started to get a little deeper and go look at other videos that he had, and that's when I realized there was a whole group of people outside of him, and I started studying everybody, and I was like, this is cool, this is neat, and it was solely surrounding talking about nature, and that's what like really caught my attention.
So, okay, so where were you studying agriculture at that point?
Tuskegee University, that's at Alabama, Tuskegee, Alabama.
Are you from Alabama originally?
I am not.
Where are you from?
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay. And was that where you were staying before you went to college?
Excuse me, say that again?
Is that were you in New Orleans up until you went to college?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how far along in your college studies were you?
I was in my second semester, the beginning of my second semester.
And when you started watching these videos of Mr. Bishop and his group, where were they? Like, do you know where in the world they were?
They were in Costa Rica, Periscal, Costa Rica.
And when did you end up leaving, or did you end up leaving to go stay with them?
Yes, I did. I ended up leaving to go stay with him at the end of February in 2017.
So about how long from when that first video popped into your algorithm till you left?
This was about, I would say about a good 2 weeks, more or less.
Were they still in Costa Rica at that point?
Yes, sir.
How did you end up getting from Alabama to Costa Rica?
I had took my tuition money and paid for my plane ticket, and then paid for my passport. I gave all of my clothes away, my shoes away, everything, because at that time he was encouraging whoever was coming that you should let go of all of your belongings and denounce your family, and basically do away with your connection to your life and who you are, and kind of like remake yourself. So.
What family did you have in New Orleans?
My whole family, like my mom, my dad, my sisters, like my brothers, my aunts, my uncle, my whole lineage, basically.
Did you tell any of them where you were going before you left?
Yeah, I told my mom and my dad.
When you got to Costa Rica, how was that experience when you first landed and got there?
It was different. It was different because I never met people in this type of setting before. So when I initially met Olmec, that was the first person that I met. Olmec.
Who was that?
Olmec. That's Kennard, right? Another ex-member that was there back then.
Is that like O-M-E-C?
I think he spells it O-L-M-E-K.
Okay.
Yeah, preferably. Nevertheless, when I first met Olmec, me and him had a very neutral relationship, and so we were just like, hey, it was cool, And then that's when I met Nature Boy, or Eligio Bishop, after that, with one of his wives at the time, and then I got to meet everybody else. But when I initially met Nature Boy, he was real, reserved. He didn't really say much. He was on live doing a video, so he was talking, but it wasn't directly to me. He gave me a side hug, and it didn't seem like he had any bad intentions or anything. So, it was just regular. It was just like regularly meeting him.
About how many folks were in the group at that point?
Maybe probably between maybe 14, maybe 12 to 20. 12 to 20 people, because so many people had come in and out and was leaving in and out that the numbers always fluctuated.
Okay. And this was around February 2017?
Yeah.
Did you go by your legal name within the group?
I did not. No one goes by their legal name. Eligio Bishop renames everyone because he feels like, or he has stated that he thinks that whatever your name is when you come is not who you are. So he changes your name, and then it's like a recreation of who you are, basically.
And how was that process like for you?
Well, this adds on to like when I first met him and how it started changing. So initially, after I met him, we drove to a restaurant, and then when we sat at the restaurant, he started to ask me all of these questions, and like some of the questions that still stands out to this day is the fact that he kept asking me if I wanted to be with Omek. And so I kept saying yes, that I want to be with Omek, but he kept pushing it like, are you sure? Do you want to be with Omek? And I'm like, that's what I said, that's what I want. So he just kind of backed off or whatever, and then everything was regular. But way before he was asking me those questions, after me and Omek had our relationship, you cannot go to carbonation without Nature Boy's consent. So you have to talk to him at some point. So it was an initiation process for me to be introduced to Nature Boy, for me to have a conversation with him.
So are you talking about before you ever traveled there?
Correct.
That's the time frame you're talking about now?
Correct.
Okay.
So as me and Nature Boy is talking, before I went there, he stated to me that he wanted my name to be Ja, whatever. And I asked him, like, why that name? And he stated that he felt like that's what, for the lack of better words, because I can say what he said, but for the, for everybody present, basically that's what he felt like God wanted my name to be. So I was like, okay, then my name is Ja. But later down the line, the timeline, as it progressed, I realized that he didn't name me Ja because God wanted my name to be that. He named me Ja because he named all of the women to be his wives. So at that time, he had another wife named Yaya, and he wanted our names to match, and he wanted all of his wives' names to match so that he can have whatever satisfaction. So he named me because he wanted me to be a wife, but he never said out of his mouth, I want you to be my wife, and I want your name to be Ja. Except instead of doing that, he went around and it was like, okay, well, since you're not my wife, your name can't be Ja because you're not my wife, because I wanted to be with Omek. So then he settled to name me EJ, which is his son's name.
Okay. And
She had a little emphasis
was
on
that
that.
the name what was the name that you used most of the time that you were in the group?
It really just depends, because I was called EJ for a long time. I was called, my name turned from EJ to Eliana. And my name was Eliana for a long time. And then that's when I had my daughter, and we named her Eliana, which was weird. I digress. But then after Eliana, my name turned into
She about to
Nana.
be on fire,
And
baby.
then he started changing his name, and then my name changed from Nana to Nana G. And so, like, between Eliana and Nana was like the most, what my name was over the duration of these 8-7 years.
So you mentioned a couple of things that happened in your time there, and we'll get to those. Going back to sort of when you first got to Costa Rica and to the group, did you learn of any rules within the group?
Yeah. Way before you come to carbonation, there's rules. So, like, the rule is you have to get rid of all your stuff. You have to change your name. Those are non-negotiable. When you get there, you have to put all of your financial belongings into what we would call a pot, where we would pull resources from the group, and we would use these resources to feed ourselves, travel, etc. If you didn't give your documentation, you were like verbally abused in amongst the circle. Like they would make, like have a meeting. We would call them meetings, kind of like what was going on right now. Except if you were the victim, we would be like, why aren't you putting your money? Are you for it? Are you, and then it would be like verbal abuse. And so that was a rule. Another rule was that we couldn't use the bathroom. We had to use the bathroom a certain way. at one point in time, and because things progressed, it didn't keep happening, but it actually was a rule for us not to wear shirts. Like women couldn't wear shirts.
I remember that.
So we started putting leaves on our nipples, going live. And other things that I wouldn't consider quote unquote rules, but were non-negotiable things in the group, was that every woman had to have sex with Nature Boy, or have some type of sexual fantasy with him. And a lot of times when that would happen, it would be forced and non-consensual, because it was not negotiable for anybody there.
So going back to the rules that were more like understood and like with using the bathroom or just sort of when people ate, things of that nature, where did those rules come from? Was it like a democracy or something else?
Nature Boy considers himself to be our higher self. He considers himself to be God. So he went from saying that I'm your higher self to I'm your master teacher, which is essentially a higher ranking than you are, right, in the group. And he went from master teacher to God. And so he believes that he is the end all be all, the alpha and omega. Like how we pray to God every day, that's how he feels. So these rules came from that ideology alone, with him just feeling like he's the ruler of the earth plane.
You mentioned questions you received about like whether you wanted to be in a relationship with Olmec. Were there generally rules related to romantic relationships within the group?
I wouldn't necessarily label them as rules, because it never was an atmosphere where it was like, this is a rule, right? And because if it's a rule, you're not going to do it. But in the atmosphere was more like persuasion and manipulating tactics for us to like make certain decisions or not make certain decisions. Like it was real like smoky, if that makes sense.
Were there times where folks within the group were forbidden from having a sexual or romantic relationship with one another?
Excuse me, you're slurring. I can't. Can you say it again?
Were there times that folks within the group were prohibited from having a sexual relationship with one another?
Yeah, at times, yeah. It would be times where, say for instance, Nature Boy didn't want somebody. I know I was prohibited from being in a relationship with anybody in the group. I had to be with him, like period. But if it was somebody else, say for instance, he didn't want that woman to be with that man, and she did, he would allow it, but not really, because when she would go be with that man, and he would, scold both of them, like, y'all doing the wrong thing. He would take the man to the side and take the woman to the side and talk to both of them individually and tell them different things and turn them against each other, right? And say, for instance, that woman be with that man that she wants to be with and they have a baby is even worse, because now he's verbally abusing not only the couple, but now he's targeting the child. So he'll say stuff like, the baby's a demon, you're not supposed to be having a baby with that man, you're supposed to be having a baby with me, and why do you want to have a baby with a man with weaker genes, and all of these different things of that nature. So yeah.
Were folks within the group able to say no to Mr. Bishop?
No, I don't personally feel like nobody was able to say no.
You kind of talked about it a little bit. You were there sort of near the beginning in February 2017. What was sort of the message or the defendant's teachings at the beginning?
Excuse me. His teachings were to live in nature, to study what we would call the 5 sciences, which was study melanin, biology, grounding, metaphysics, and one other one, agriculture, grounding, right? And that was his ideologies. And then other teachings that weren't really like broadcasted that big, like the Five Sciences was like, this is what the world knew. But other things that he taught was in the very beginning, because it started to morph over time. So in the beginning, it was the women, you couldn't have children as a woman. If you had a child, it was a curse from God. It was your karma. And you couldn't have sex. And if you had sex, then you was like, it was just weird, or, you know, like it was just like kind of frowned upon. And then over time, it started turning into him wanting to have sex with everybody. And then when he did that, one of the women got pregnant at the time. And when she got pregnant, he was like, all magically like, oh, you need to have kids, you know, and then he started pushing that. So like certain things just started changing over time, obviously.
And did what Mr. Bishop referred to himself as, like, did his name change over time as well?
Yeah, for sure.
How did he refer to the outside world or folks outside of the group?
First, it started with our families, right? Because, you know, naturally, having a family, you would want to talk to them, call them. But he would say stuff like, that's Babylon. So, like, we're not a part of Babylon because Babylon lives backwards. And then he would give examples like the medical industry, using pharmaceuticals to keep up the medical industry, and, you know, in essence. And then he would talk about how in agriculture, when people are genetically modifying plants, and how that's bad for the human body, and how we need to not do these things. So he essentially felt like if our parents or anybody connected to us, or even if they weren't in the outside world, if they were indulging in these things, then they were, we were not supposed to engage with that. We were not supposed to interact with it. And so, yeah, that's the outside world. The real world, reality, is bad. It's not something that you should participate in. It's not something that you should even give a second thought about, because that's not real. That's not reality.
At some point while you were in the group, did you and the defendant develop a romantic and sexual relationship?
We did.
And how did that begin?
So in the process of me and Omek being together, like I was saying initially, he had already had a liking to me, which was discreet on his behalf, because I had already chosen to be with Omek. So I believe that he was like secretly trying to see how he could be with me. So me and Omek would get into arguments a lot about me liking Nature Boy and Nature Boy liking me, and I would have dreams, and so I would talk to Omek about it, not because I had it, but because it was just like it's all coming to me. And so Nature Boy will pull him to the side and say stuff like, you know, she's going to be with me anyway, you might as well let me be with her, you know. And then he'll pull me to the side and he'll say stuff like, you know, he's really not your type, you know, he's just your friend, you know, trying to manipulate the situation into us thinking that we didn't really love each other. So eventually, after so many months of just arguing with Omek, I decided to break up with him. And so when I broke up with him, I decided to be single in the group. But that was a perfect opportunity for Nature Boy to love bomb. I call it love bomb. So essentially,
what do you mean by love bomb?
Love bombing, like being really romantic with me, trying to show me that he's interested, telling me all the things that I wanted to hear, you know, buying me whatever I wanted, just really being engaged with the fact that I love you, I want to be with you, I just really like you, I like the way you wear your hair, I like the way you wear your scarf, I want you to wear your scarf today. And he would have other women come tell me these certain things. So it wasn't just like out the blue, it was like he had other people come relay the message, and then I guess that was his way of making me feel comfortable And that was his way.
I know, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt. I know it was getting good. I know you was getting into it. I know. But listen, I'm sorry. I have to pause and I have to insert a commercial break, just like the media stations be doing, and plug my sponsor, which is myself, www.neekatnight.com. And there's tons of things that are available on sale on my site, along with things that you see are selling out quickly. We're getting rid of all of this inventory because we're going in a new direction. And so head on over there as soon as you can and get you some of these good goodies. Okay, now let's get back to the testimony.
His way in. And so after so many times of that, of him sending somebody else to tell me that he liked the cookies that I baked that night, and they had me making cookies for 3 months straight every night, was, after that, so long of that, he came in and was like pushing up on me. He was like really aggressive. Like when you first meet somebody and you want to date them, you don't just start feeling on them and coming up on them and like, you want me, you want this, and that's essentially what it was like. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm very young at this point. So I'm like, if you want to be with me, I don't have a real gauge on relationships or how to deal with men. So I'm like, okay, well, if you want to be with me this bad, because you really want to be with me, it's like a very obvious. So let's see if we can make it work, And so there were other components that made me want to be with him too at that time. Like, everybody, it was viral, so everybody was watching it on social media, and everybody was like, she's very articulate, she's very this, she's very that. Why isn't she your wife? Why is she with the other guy? And so it was a big influence as well, like, to make that decision.
Sure. So about how long after you joined in February of 2017 before you and Mr. Bishop began your relationship?
It was in 2018. And I have to jog my memory because so much has happened in the from 2017 up to 2020, so much has happened that I literally have to slow down to remember it all. But I do definitely remember us getting together in 2017 because my daughter was born January 2019. So at some point in 2018, we got together.
Okay, so sometime in 2018 is when you all got together.
Mm-hmm.
And how was it at first being in a relationship then?
It was the love bombing. So he was considerably polygamous the whole time that I was there, which I had agreed to because to be with him you have to agree to be polygamous. So, and that was surrounding the fact or his ideology of his reasoning behind being polygamous, which was to essentially like build a home business, a family business. So like you have employees and you have them work, but not necessarily like not like a, how do I say this? Like, how you go to a job and you got employees and you got the boss and stuff like that. It's not that intense, but mainly in a home setting. So like the women were supposed to come together to create, like paint, draw, dance, be fruitful with our skills and our gifts and our talents and use that as an avenue for income, which is very much well possible. So I thought in my mind, like, this could be lucrative, especially if all of us are on one accord. But when I chose to be polygamous, we instantly was like monogamous. So when we were monogamous, he was doing the whole love bombing thing. Like, I really love you. I really want to be with you. You make me so happy. I really see you as the only woman in my life. I want you to have my children. Everything a woman want to hear. So eventually, I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, that's when the abuse started. And he really started getting abusive with me. And then later down the line, he had admitted to me that he couldn't wait to get me pregnant, and his goal was to get me pregnant so that he can do whatever he wants, so that I wouldn't leave him. So me getting pregnant was his way of trapping me, in my mind, in my heart. That's what I feel, because I'm young. And he would also use like, we would call them generational curses. So he would say stuff like, you don't want to take your daughter away from her father because that happened to you. And he would use my childhood traumas to guilt trip me into staying with him, keeping our family together. And that aside from that is essentially why I kept going back, because I wanted to keep my family together. And he used monogamy to manipulate it or manipulate the situation. And
So let's go back to, you said January 2019 is when your daughter was born?
correct.
Okay. And so when did you learn you were pregnant with your daughter?
This was in 2018 in Belize. The timeline, like I said, the timelines run together so much because where we were, the weather was the same all the time. So it wasn't like I could tell if it was like spring, winter, fall, summer, right? Then on top of that, he would encourage us not to really keep up with the days, the times, and stuff like that. So we just naturally grew accustomed to not checking the time, not checking the day, not checking the hours. So it's like...
Sure. And you may have sort of mentioned this, but did your relationship with Mr. Bishop change after the birth of your daughter?
Yes.
How so?
It got really verbally abusive. It started to be verbally abusive. And
It, I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
it started off as verbal abuse, and then because I thought we were equally yoked, you know, I thought like I could voice my opinion, but when I would voice my opinion and like stand up for myself and be standing on my boundaries, he would verbally abuse me, and then that would turn into physical abuse while I was pregnant. So most of my boundaries was, you're not going to sleep with a woman if I don't choose her or if we don't choose her. You're not going to be sleeping with anyone if we're not getting tested or, you know, there's not proper precaution. Like, those were some of my main boundaries that I can remember, like, just to jog my memory. But he wanted to do what he wanted to do. He wanted to sleep with who he wanted to sleep with. So it was never a choice.
Is it safe to say that most of the turmoil in your relationship was around the issue of polygamy?
Absolutely. And then he even tried to use that against me to say like, oh, you're jealous, you're this, you're that. So a lot of my relationship was trying to prove to him in a way that I'm not jealous. Like, what do I gotta be jealous for? So I actually started making relationships with the women, but I couldn't handle it because of the fact that these, like, it was just so chaotic to the point where, like, this is not healthy for me, this is not healthy for my child, this is not healthy for none of us involved. So I would want to leave, but when I would want to leave, he would help my documentation, he would...
All right, we'll get to, let's take it one step at a time. So after your daughter was born, which, how old is she now?
She's 5.
After she was born, did you consider leaving?
Yes.
What led you to consider leaving?
He was really wanting to have sex with women that he just really wanted to have sex with any and everybody.
More
And I was
issues
like,
about...
yeah, sex
issues
with
about-
other people.
Sorry. And what ended up stopping you from leaving that time?
That specific time, I didn't have my daughter's citizenship, U.S. citizenship. She was born in Mexico. And I couldn't, at the time, pass my citizenship down to her because I didn't have the proper connections to prove my 5-year of residency here in the United States, which Eligio Bishop did have that proof. But he waited to get her citizenship because he wanted me to stay. So he would use her as a thing. Like, if you leave, you're going to have to, he would say this to me, if you leave, you're going to have to leave her. And he knew I wasn't, didn't want to leave my baby. But at some point in time, I wanted to leave so bad. And I still feel bad for this day, but I take accountability for what I go through. I wanted to leave so bad one day that I contemplated leaving my child in this coat. And I was on my way out, and my boobs just started leaking of milk, and I was just like, I can't leave my child. So I went back, and he started smuggling her through the borders, and we finally got her citizenship that same year, 2019, in June, when we traveled to Nicaragua, and they forced us to get her documentation.
All right, so by June 2019, she would have been about 5 or 6 months old?
Yeah.
And so once her citizenship papers were in order, did you ever try to leave at that point?
Yes, I did.
And when was that?
This was I remember us being in Nicaragua. We got our citizenship. He went and started doing the polygamy thing again, doing all of that. And I wanted to leave. But I actually did leave. But the only way I was able to leave that time was I stole some money out of his wallet. I stole my passport because he always keep my documentation, so I stole it. And then I left. And then when I left, I got on a bus, and then I went to like some random part of Nicaragua. I don't even remember where I was, but I was there. And then I started thinking to myself, I'm like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. Like, I don't even know how to get back home from here. So I just went back because I didn't know what to do. So I went back, and when I went back, he was there, and they was like all embracing me, like, welcome back, I'm glad you're back, and all of this stuff like that. And then shortly after that, when I went back, I was trying to leave again. But when I almost left, he wound up getting incarcerated or detained in Nicaragua because social media.
So were you able to leave at that point?
Considerably, yes. After he got detained in Nicaragua, yes, I was able to leave.
Okay. And did you stay out of the group for long?
Well, I did leave again after so I did stay out for a long time, yeah. It was about a couple months I stayed out after leaving him in Nicaragua.
What made you come back?
Once he got incarcerated or detained in Nicaragua, they deported him back to the United States. So when he got back to the United States, that's when he was like hitting my phone up and stuff like that. I was considering co-parenting with him. And he actually came to the state that I was in, which was Florida at the time, to come get me. So again, it was the whole like love, bonding, romance thing. We're gonna be monogamous. I'm gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna do it for a child and all of this. We don't want to continue perpetuating generational curses. So I agreed, and then he came and got me from Florida, and then we traveled back to, I think it was Mexico, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I would really have to jog my memory because it's a timeline.
So at some point, COVID starts, right?
Mm-hmm.
March 2020, that can kind of be a guidepost. Where were you all at that point?
COVID hits, we're in Atlanta, Atlanta, Georgia.
And about how many folks are in the group at that point?
It's about maybe 13 to 20 people, roughly.
Is that sort of the numbers that it stayed relatively constant even as the people changed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And about how long had you been back by the time COVID started? Like a couple weeks, couple months, longer than that?
Maybe like a month or two, maybe. Maybe.
Was it any different, any better, any worse that time?
At that time, it was really hard to gauge because he would change a lot. So like, he would be really abusive, like really, really abusive, and then he'll go from that to being really calm, really chill, really like, we're cool. I'm not mad. I'm not whatever. So a lot of the times I got comfortable with him again because, you know, he made me feel comfortable until the abuse started to happen again. But every time abuse happened again, when he would, you know, calm himself down, the abuse just kept getting worse over the years.
At some point, did you and Mr. Bishop get married?
We did.
Tell us about that.
August of, this was 2020, August of 2020, we got married, and July, before August, in July, on July 4th, this was really like, this was it. Like, this was it. This was for me to leave and never go back. July 4th, he had, and I remember telling you about this incident, but, you know,
So July 4th, where are you all?
This is California. We're in
Okay.
California.
So you all are in California. What's going on July 4th?
We're out having fun. He starts to drink at this time. Mind you, he doesn't. The group is supposed to not. We're not supposed to be drinking. We're not supposed to be smoking, right? Because that's Babylon. That's the outside world. Things that the outside world do. So we're drinking alcohol at the time, and he's like, "Let's go to the park. Let's go have a party." You know, he's really drunk. So we go to the park, and I have my daughter or whatever. And when we get to the park, mind you, in this event, me and him have made an agreement, which we've had multiple agreements, which was why I went back every time, to be monogamous, to co-parent, and to be there for our daughter. So that's the intent that's there, right? So as we're at the park, he gets to flirting with all of these women again, doing the whole, I want to have sex with all of the women again, and I want all of the women to be my wives. So I immediately just shut down. I don't talk, I don't look at nobody, I don't dance, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting crisscross with my baby in my arms.
So you go to the park. Is this like a big open field? Is it like a pavilion? Like, describe the park.
It was a big open field. It was a big open field.
Daytime or nighttime?
It was nighttime, like really dark outside, like 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, and so you all are in this open field late at night, and you describe you're kind of off on your own.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes. So
what happened next?
I'm sitting down with my baby in my lap, and he noticed my disengagement, and he comes and he's trying to ask me these questions, and I'm like, I don't fuck with you. That's honest. Like, I literally was like, I don't want to talk to you. Like, get out my face. And so he was drunk, of course, and he got into his feelings and stuff. And he was like, you're going to engage with me. You're going to talk to me. And I'm like, just looking at him, like, ready to go. And he was like, you know, you're going to be a part of this. And you're going to be queen of combination. And you're going to do your job. And you're going to do what I tell you to do. Or whatever he said after that. And so I still disengaged. And then because of my disengagement, he started to physically abuse me. And then leading more into the physical abuse, he ordered everybody in the group to make a circle around us so that he could beat me inside the circle. So he told one of the women to come grab my baby out of my hand, and she did. I don't even know who it was. I forgot who it was. She grabbed the baby. She stepped on the outside of the circle. They closed me in, and he physically abused me very severely in that circle for maybe about 45 minutes to an hour. And after everything was over, he asked me if I wanted to go to the hospital. But at that point, I didn't care about nothing but my child. So, you know, I reunited with my child, and then that day is when I started to plan my escape.
I know you like her again. Like, really? Again? Yes, again. But I'm not going to hold y'all that long this time. Just a reminder to go to my website, www.neekatnight.com. Okay. I got you.
To never go back.
That July 4th, 2020 day, had she already returned by that point?
I don't believe she was present.
She didn't come?
I don't think she was present.
She didn't come back when y'all were in Atlanta and then go?
She did, yeah. She was there in Atlanta. Yeah.
So, July 4th, that happens. You said in August the two of you got married.
Yes.
What
So,
happened there?
After that incident in July, I planned my escape, and August hit. I was planning my escape, August hit. When August hit, and this was one of the rules, you couldn't get married, you couldn't have like Babylon documentations, like that was forbidden in the group. Like you couldn't get married. That's not something that we would practice. But in August of 2020, he went from not practicing that to, yeah, I want to get married. And so that raised a red flag to me because I already had been conditioned to not get married. So I was like asking him, like, why do you want to get married? Like, I'm trying to use his knowledge on him basically so he don't get married to me because I already know what's about to happen if we get married. And I'm planning my escape. I'm not trying to marry you right now. So he was like, yeah, I want to get married to you. This is what he tells me in the essence. He says, yeah, I want to marry you because if I marry you, you're going to be able to get me out of any type of, anything bad, if anything bad happens. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you gotta be one crazy person. Like, so fast forward, I couldn't say no and I couldn't show any type of resistance because it would end in physical violence. For me, it was a lot of strangulation. He would hit me in my face. I would have black eyes. I would have bust lips. He would pick me. Well, in this incident, before, he had picked me up and kept slamming me on the ground. So I don't know what else could happen. You know what I'm saying? So I just kind of played it cool. I was like, God damn, this is really about to happen. So he encouraged about 4 other couples to get married as well. And then we all got married at one time. And then we started to travel about again.
Were the other couples like Aaron?
And Aaron, and Jacob, Kayla, and I forgot his name, but yeah, essentially.
And Jayon and
Courtney, yeah.
And what city was it in?
This was in Las Vegas.
Now, you said something a minute ago. You said you had to plan your escape.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't you just take your daughter and leave after what happened to you on July 4th of 2020?
He didn't want me to leave. He was obsessed with being with me. He literally would physically abuse me if I showed any type of... If I wanted to leave, if I said, Nation Boy, I want to leave right now. You're not leaving me. Get her passport. Get the baby. Somebody get the baby. Get her, do all of these things. So now I'm pitted with 15, 14 people against me with a baby. This was every single time. So I started to understand the pattern of leaving at that point. So if I calm down and I do what you want me to do, that means that my passport, my documentations, and my baby is going to be closer to me. But if I show any type of sign that I want to leave and I'm going to leave, everything gets taken away from me. So eventually, over time, during my planning, I just did whatever. I made him feel so comfortable to the point where he started telling me stuff I never heard him say before. He started doing stuff I never saw him do before. And I was like, oh, hell no. Nope.
Do you remember the date you were ultimately able to leave?
Yeah.
When was
I remember that date. That was November. It was literally in the beginning of November 2020. It was maybe the first, second, or third day of November in 2020.
Do you recall?
I do, yeah.
Do you remember a time in Mexico when you helped mistreat an injury?
Yeah, I do.
What was going on that day?
So, as we started to travel about, this was before my escape, we was traveling about. We were in Mexico at some point, and Eligio Bishop separated the men and the women into 2 different Airbnbs. And so his thoughts are every woman is his wife, so in the house with all of the women, he started to make relations with all of the women. And when he was making relations with all of the women, he was of course sexually sleeping. He was sleeping with everybody. So during that time, he wanted to do anal with me and like do all different kind of threesomes with me and all this stuff, but I was not. I would make excuses to not want to have sex with him or whatever. So he started to go to other women and find other women who he could, pursue these fantasies with. And was one of the women who he, from what I was told, forced himself upon in that incident. And when it happened, I didn't know about it. So she came to me after the fact and she was like, I have to show you something. She came to me, it was like really urgent, and I was like kind of like taken aback. And she took me in the bathroom and she said that your boy forced himself inside
What
me.
she said is just what did you see or what did you do?
Oh yeah, I told her show me, show me the injury. So when she showed me, it definitely was blood there and it was torn, and I was like, ouch. And so I didn't really know what to do because I'm not a medical professional. So I just told her to clean it, and I gave her some antibiotic ointment to see if that'll help, and that's really all I had to offer at that time.
And were you in the room with and the defendant when all that happened?
No, it was not. I didn't know. I didn't even know what was going on.
After you left in November of 2020, did you ever go back?
No.
After you left, did something happen online that concerned you?
Yeah. After I left, Nature Boy decided to start leaking sexual videos of me that I did not consent to him leaking.
How did you learn about this?
Somebody sent it to me over a social media platform.
And do you remember what platform it was on?
Instagram.
And who was depicted in the video?
I mean, it's me.
And with
It's
who?
me in the video with Eligio Bishop, giving him head, and even the way it was two separate incidences that he deliberately recorded, and both of those incidents resulted in physical violence because of the fact that I didn't want to do it, and he wanted me to do it, and he wanted to record me to do it. He wanted to record me while I was doing it for, I believe, the purpose in which he used it was to humiliate me, if I had ever left. And so that's exactly what he did with the videos. So, yeah.
Can I approach the witness?
Yes.
I believe he's done, but we'll see how this goes.
I'm showing you a disc that's been labeled States Exhibit 6. Have you seen the video contained on there?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
It's me giving him head.
Is it the video we were just talking about?
Yes.
Fair and accurate copy of what was posted back then?
Yes.
Tender State 6.
Any objection?
No objection, stay safe, Your Honor.
All right, it's submitted.
Unfortunately, I think we have to publish.
Okay.
I mean,
Please London. All right. And just a reminder.
All right, so I think they're gonna mute it probably because it's explicit or whatever. But what do y'all think so far on her testimony? I'm over here trying to work on thumbnails at the same time while I'm listening for other stuff, but I think so far, and she hasn't even got to the defense. I know the defense, his theme is to really like push them and stuff, and I don't know if that's like a good tactic, but I think so far she is doing really, really good. And they can see like how it was for her, being that she was a woman who he, like she said, obsessed over and things like that. So I mean, all of these people attesting to the fear that they had, all of these people attesting to how they felt, how they had to kind of like navigate to leave, people testifying to the consequences of them telling him no. Audio's back.
So I guess it goes without saying that March 24th of 2022, were you living with Eligio Bishop?
No,
So you weren't there
no.
that time? During your time in the group, did you participate in social media videos, lives, things of that nature?
Yeah.
Her mood is different now.
In those sorts of videos, did you say good things about the group?
No.
Okay. But, I mean, were there times that, good times as well in the group?
Yeah.
And at times, you, the defendant, did you really care for him?
Yeah. I trusted him at one point. Many a times.
Okay, just
Yes.
All right, good afternoon, Mr. My name is Robert Cook. I represent Mr. Bishop. Just a few questions, okay?
Sure.
All right. So, you used to live with Mr. Bishop at a given time, right?
Yeah. Yes.
She speak up.
Yes.
You did, right? Okay. And where did you live with him initially?
Paris, Costa Rica,
What year was that?
2017.
Okay. And where else did you live with him?
Honestly, I lived with him in a lot of places.
Well, we want honesty, so that's why I'm asking. So let's just stick with all
Costa
of them.
Rica,
Okay.
Mexico.
Dang, coming
What year-
in
so let's
hot.
go slow. 2017, you were in Costa Rica. You met him there, right?
Yes.
Where'd you live with him next?
It's not that simple because we lived in basically all of Central America over the course of 3 years, which was a lot that happened in 3 years.
Okay.
So if we want to be honest and technical,
We do.
I would literally have to jog my memory and literally
That's
go
right,
from
girl.
point to point to point to make sure that I fit in every place that we've been. I can only tell you right now, as of for the sake of time, of significant places that we've lived in the course of 3 years, so that we can understand the timeline as a rough draft. Because we've been from back and forth to Mexico, to the United States, back to Central America, and in short amount of times, like literally weeks within weeks. So it's really hard for me to say like, this is where I went next, because we were deported from Costa Rica, went back to America, lived in Ohio, then we traveled somewhere else, and then we went back to Central America and lived in Mexico, and then we got deported from Mexico. We left Mexico and then went to another part of Central America. We stopped in Nicaragua at one point. We stopped in Guatemala at one point. We stopped in El Salvador. We stopped in Honduras. Then we left and we went back to the United States, and then we stayed in Georgia. We lived in Texas at one point. After getting we got deported so many times. And this is over 3 years worth of different places,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know you said time is an issue. My client's life is on the line, so we're gonna take our time and go
My
through
life
this.
is in
Okay.
danger, literally right now.
Great. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. All right.
So,
Good show.
2017
Ciao.
Costa Rica. Were you in Costa Rica in 2018? Or let's keep it broader.
Yeah.
Were you in Central America in 2018?
No, it's
Where
not.
were you at in 2018?
2018. I was in Texas.
Okay. Did you leave the United States with him in 2018?
I did.
Okay. 2019, were you in the United States or outside the United States?
Outside.
Where?
Mexico.
Okay. And did you remain in Mexico all of 2019? I know you probably visited the United States, but Was that your primary residence in 2019,
Yes.
Central America?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And in 2020, you came back to America, right?
Yes.
And that's when you ended the relationship,
Yes.
got married, but then you left,
Yes.
right? Okay, all right. And that was in the U.S., right?
That was actually in the U.S., yes.
Okay. So 2017 in Costa Rica. Was living with you guys at that time?
Yes.
She was living with y'all in 2017 in Costa Rica?
She was there for like 2 days.
2 days?
Yes.
Okay. Came and went? Right?
Yes.
Okay. And she didn't come back again until 2020?
I didn't even respond. I don't remember her time. I don't remember when she came back because as times when I was leaving, people was coming in.
Okay.
And as I was coming in, people was leaving. So I can't really, you would have to show me a video so I could tell you, like, this is exactly.
Okay. But from 2017 to 2020, you said there were times that people were coming in and you were leaving and vice versa, right?
Yes.
So that meant you came and went?
Yes.
Okay. How many times in 2017 to 2020 do you think you came and went?
Man, it was about maybe 4 times.
So only 4 times?
Maybe. I would have to go back and look at certain documents because there were times where I actually left and then went back because I didn't have enough money. I didn't have my baby documents. And I attempted to leave a lot, like over 10 times.
Okay.
I attempted to leave, but I successfully left about a good 4 times from what I know.
Okay. And of the 4 times that you know that you left, how long were you gone for those times?
Every time was different.
Give me a range.
I would say maybe 3 months, 2 or 3 months, maybe.
Each time?
Not each time, because each time was longer or shorter. It just depended on the timeline. But
Okay. Okay, where'd you go?
to my family.
Where's your family?
To Lawrence, Louisiana.
To Louisiana?
Yes.
Okay, and who'd you stay with there?
At one point, well, actually, some parts of the times that I left, I went back to Louisiana and I stayed with my mom and my dad. And then another time I left and stayed with my sister in Florida.
Okay.
But majority of the times that I left, I would go back to Louisiana to my mom and my dad, and I would go there.
Okay, so, but you left, according to you, over 3 years, about 4 times, for 2 to 3 months, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter.
Yes.
But somehow you managed to leave each time, fly back to the United States, go stay with your family, right?
Absolutely.
So that meant that when you testified earlier that you were told not to be in communication with your family, somehow you were in communication with your family and you were able to go find them.
Yeah, because I snuck and talked to him.
You snuck and
I
talked to
made
them.
sure that I talked to them,
Okay.
whether he told me not to or to do it. I
Okay.
did what I felt was best for me at the time. Yes.
Your parents love you?
I think my parents loved me.
Okay, so are you telling me that you showed up at your parents' house after describing to them abuse and all the things that you claimed that happened to you, and they would let you get on a plane and go right back to Costa Rica after being there for 2 to 3 months?
No, they didn't want me to go back.
Okay. Secondarily, how'd you get funds to be able to fly to the United States?
My family would pay for my fare.
They would send you money?
Yes.
Okay, and money for the baby as well?
Yes.
Okay. How'd you get funds to fly back?
I would actually make my own money, and so then I would use my money that I made, however I made it.
How'd you make it?
I had businesses at one point. I'm very talented, so I would paint, I would make jewelry. At one point in time, I was working for my sister or whatever, so she would give me an allowance. And then other people like my friends, well, not necessarily friends, but it was supporters, social media supporters. They would send me a lot of donations because they understood like what I was going through. So I used that money to help provide for me and my child.
So you were a constant social media presence yourself, right? People knew who you were on social media, right?
For the most part, yes.
They still know who you are on social media, right?
Yes.
Because you're well known on there, right?
Yes.
Okay, you and Solar are well known as well because you guys are a couple, right? Were a couple. Okay, and so you had a baby by Solar, right?
I did.
Okay, and when was that?
You want me to tell you when I had a baby for
Close alarm.
That's what I just asked you.
Okay, I think it's covered by 412.
All right, approach.
Okay.
Child, they want to know about Solar. This getting into the whole thing that I thought he was gonna get into with the victim? Because I was wondering why he didn't press a certain angle as it pertained to Solar with the victim, like of the case. Is he trying to get to that with her? Sure. So far, she's doing good. She's doing really good explaining to them and letting them know like her mind state and how she felt about things. So, you know, they just now turned the camera on. Hopefully we can pan over so that we can see Mr. Bishop. That's who we want to see, not the gallery. Scooch it over. But anyways, yeah, I think so far her testimony is strong. I still think that he keeps trying to focus on the fact that like, oh, you could leave, you could come back, but I feel like they've all done a really good job as far as explaining what the hold on them was, explaining what the feeling was. So I feel like even though he's pointing out that they could leave and come back, people with like basic comprehension can tell like this was a conflicted situation, like they were conflicted in what to do. So it looks like they're addressing the gallery. Looks like somebody had their phone out. Okay. Anyway, so in this moment, I just will let you guys know that y'all always can support the channel. I am really trying to do my best to give you guys the best coverage and footage within complying with the court ruling. They do not want the victim's name published. So I have to really work overtime to try to like make sure that her name isn't mentioned and make sure certain things and you know, so just to be in accordance of doing all of those things, it's, you know, it's been a task. So if you have been appreciating my coverage, y'all know that y'all can always and forever donate by giving a super chat. It's not required, but you know, if you enjoy it, you know, tip the host. You can also send a Cash App, or you can visit my website, www.neekatnight.com. By visiting my website, you have so many options of things where it is literally a blowout sale happening on my website. Everything must go, okay? Everything must go. Hurry up and buy. It got to go. If you're watching this video on the replay and you did not watch this like when I premiered it, you can still send like what is kind of like a super chat, and in the comments it's called a super thanks. So either way, you can, you know, donate to the coverage, because it has truly been a hustle. And within it being a hustle, you got haters who, instead of doing the work, they rather try to hate and taint and try to throw a monkey wrench and try to, like, you know what I'm saying, do all of those things. So all of those things are happening simultaneously within this whole spiel. So it's crazy. Let me pause this real quick to try to find out what is going on. All right, we're back in business. I knew it had to be something in the court with the dang cell phone or something.
Folks that are coming in, cell phones need to be deposited in that box. There are no cell phones unless you're here with the media or you're an employee of...
They cracking down on the rules. Somebody came in probably new today.
Employee of Mr. Booker. Okay, well, I just didn't want to leave you out, that's all. Okay.
Breaking the rules, child.
we ready for the jurors, or is there anything else we need to take up? All right, I needed to take care of that cell phone issue anyway, so. All right, bring the jurors in.
All right, we about to get into it. She had to get order in the court for rule breakers. And all of that. We will continue with her testimony.
And you may proceed, Mr. Whitman.
All right, let's go.
All right, so before the break, I
Leave
had
it
asked you
on
a
Nature
question,
Boy.
About whether or not you and both are have babies by Solar.
We do.
Okay, and I asked you, and you asked me, did you have to tell me? Yes, you do. Courtney Townsend is your child's father, correct?
He is.
Okay.
Courtney Townsend?
Courtney Townsend, so, i.e. Solar.
Okay.
He's on the board. Up here.
Yeah, my copy was buried. So.
Okay.
Okay.
And so also has a child by him as well, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so when did you have a child by Courtney Townsend?
I really feel uncomfortable because this situation has literally put my children's lives in danger.
If you could answer,
Wait, hold on. Answering the question of when you had the child, how does that put your child in danger?
Because I have never told anybody the date of
The child's
his birthday, the child.
Can you tell us approximately how old the child is?
He's 3 months.
Okay.
okay.
There you go.
3 month old baby. Okay. I won't ask you anything else about that. All right. Okay. Going back to the 4 or so times that you left, and you went to different places, to Florida and Louisiana, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you testified, though, that people would have a hard time leaving the group, but somehow you managed to fly and leave the group several times yourself, right?
I would.
Can you answer yes or no and then explain?
Do you need him to repeat the question?
Yeah, please, because.
You managed somehow to leave several times yourself. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Okay. You managed to leave in a van, for instance, right?
Yes.
Okay. A van that came to the house and picked you up,
Yes.
and you drove away with the baby.
No, he didn't come to the house. I actually walked away from the house and then went to a nearby spot where I can catch reception, so I called and they can pick me up from
Okay.
the site. Yeah.
All right. And no one grabbed you and pulled you down in that time, correct?
Everybody was sleeping. I escaped. I left when nobody knew.
Okay,
Every
so-
time I left, no one knew. I just left when no one knew.
So there wouldn't be any videos that exist of you being placed in a bus and leaving the Mexico or anywhere else, right? That's what you're testifying to?
The only place I remember leaving was
In a bus
In a bus.
or van.
The only time I can remember leaving was when I was in Panama.
Mm-hmm.
We was in Panama, and I wanted to leave, and that was the only time Nature Boy had ever exhibited to me that I could leave. Like notions like you could leave, you can go. But when he told me that, he had took my phone. I didn't have no money, barely had clothes. I had a baby, and he knew that. So when he would take everything from me, that was his attempt to make me come back because he knew that I couldn't get far without a phone or without money. And he would say that.
You left Panama?
I did leave Panama, yeah.
Okay. Somehow you managed to leave Panama in a white van that you got into with your child. You just testified you left Panama in a van.
No. I remember he had a white van. He drove me to a place, like a shopping mall, in a white van.
Mm-hmm.
I got in a white van in Panama with Nature Boy or Eligio Bishop and some other members. When he was like, you can leave. And he dropped me off at like this little mall complex or whatever. And so I immediately got dropped off. I went to the phone store and I fixed my phone. And then from there, I was
You
able to
fixed
get
the
to
phone that you didn't have? How'd you fix a phone if you didn't have a phone?
I called my sister because I memorized
How'd
her
you call
number.
her?
I called her number. I used the phone store
The phone store's phone.
Mm-hmm. I went to
Okay.
the phone store. I asked them could I use their phone. I called her, asked her if she could help me fix my phone. She fixed my phone. That way, when I would travel away from the store, I'd be able to look up maps so I can get to the airport and everything like that. So after I left the phone store, she gave me enough money to where I can pay for the bus fare. So in Panama, it's not an actual bus. It's like little vans that they have, like taxis or whatever. So I got on one of those buses with the funds that my sister gave me so that I can go to the airport, and then I was able to fly back home. Like
Okay.
that.
So you went to a phone store and fixed your phone.
Mm-hmm.
This was a phone that you had.
This was a phone that Eligio Bishop, I believe he gave it to me, but it wasn't my phone. Like I didn't pay for the phone or like lease the phone or anything like that. This was just a phone I had.
So he
access to.
gave it to you, but it was broken. But you went to a phone store for them to fix it so you could call your sister.
So the phones situation in Carbonation, you don't really have reception on it. Like you put chips in the phone and stuff. Nature Boy was the person who designated other people to buy chips for everybody's phone. Only a couple people had chips in their phone. At the time, my chip had ran out of minutes because it's not like a phone plan. It's not like unlimited. It's like minutes or whatever. So my phone at the time ran out of minutes. And so when I went to the store, I was able to use the phone, call my sister, and then she gave me the money so that I could be able to, get the service back on.
Okay. So for the most part, you didn't have phone access.
No.
Okay. And you didn't.
Necessarily.
What do you mean necessarily?
As far as reception, I have internet access, but I didn't have reception. So like if I was in the close to Wi-Fi reception, I was able to call my sister. I didn't need to fix the phone, I didn't need a car. But when I would walk away from Wi-Fi reception, I wouldn't have access to anything.
Okay. So when you would, quote, sneak away to call your parents, as you testified to earlier, that was sneaking away within the house.
Not necessarily in the house. Sometimes I was outside, sometimes I was in the house.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you lived lots of places: Costa Rica, Texas, Mexico, and United States. Over 3 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you lived there during that time frame with Mr. Bishop, even though you left several times and came back. You agree with me about that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you had a phone that would work in the house,
Yes.
right? And you indicated when you left 4 or more times that you were able to leave, go stay with your family, and come back.
Yes.
Right? It was, I think, according to you, discouraged for family to be present there, right?
Excuse me?
It was discouraged for your family to be present or to know where you were or something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you disagree with me that in 2019 that your family actually came and visited you there?
Was that 2018? Yes, I believe it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. My father did come to Mexico.
To visit you in person?
Yes.
Okay. And he stayed there?
He visited. He didn't stay.
Okay.
It's different.
Y'all picked him up at the airport.
No.
How'd he get there?
I'm not exactly sure. I wasn't with him. I was with Eligio Bishop.
Okay.
From what I know to be true, he was in a taxi is what I knew.
Okay.
'Cause, yeah.
But somehow your dad came and he went to see his grandbaby, right? This was the
Yes.
baby you had with Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Okay. And your dad held up the baby along with you and Mr. Bishop, and you guys were all together. Isn't that
Yes.
true?
Yes.
And that was in 2019.
I believe so.
Okay. And you're saying that from 2017, 2018, you left and came back, but your dad flew down to Mexico to visit you in person and see his grandbaby in 2019.
No, I never left in 2018 because that was the beginning of our relationship. 2017 was when I was with Omek. 2018 was when I got with Mr. Bishop.
Okay.
By the time 2019 hit in January, which was the month that my baby was born, that's when I was like trying to understand how I could leave, and that's when really all of the leaving started. Shortly after I had the baby, she was about maybe 3 or 4 months, that's when my dad traveled to Mexico to come to see me. And then after he left, that's when I actually started leaving the group, like
Okay.
in 2000.
So your dad came to visit you in person, stayed there with you, and you were in such an abusive relationship that he just left you there.
This is two different, you're referencing two different experiences. Because when he first initially came, he was there, and me and Eligio Bishop had lunch with my dad and his wife at the time. And my dad wanted me to leave then, but I said no.
What year was that?
2019.
Okay.
And then there was another incident where my dad was present, and me and Eligio Bishop was going to get some medication for the child, and we actually ran across my dad. Like, we didn't know that he was there, so we just like ran across him.
Mm-hmm.
And when we ran across him, he stopped us, obviously, and then he had a conversation with us. That's when we went out to lunch. And then I think this was a whole separate occasion, because I called my dad. My dad left, and then I called him and I told him that I wanted to leave, and then I think he came back, actually. But it was multiple experiences or incidences that happened when my dad was present, which was about 3 times.
So let me make sure I'm clear on this. 2017, you just got there. There was no violence. Things were fine, right? 2018, things were fine.
Yes.
Okay. So 2019, you have a child.
Yes.
Okay. Things are not fine now.
Actually, so in 2018, I got pregnant. When I got pregnant in 2018, I don't remember the month I got pregnant, but that's when the abuse started.
Okay.
By the time I had the baby in 2019, in January, the abuse had started getting worse.
Okay.
So before I had the baby, he was already hitting me. He was already strangling me to a degree. After I had the baby in January, the abuse got worse.
Okay. You said strangling you to a degree. What's strangling you to a degree mean?
He would like just do it a little bit, but then over time it would be longer periods of time. He would choke me harder, you know, in these periods of time or whatever, to the point where in the beginning he would strangle me, and I would still like have my consciousness. I'd still be like, you know, aware. I could breathe a little bit. But as time went on, it got to the point where I would black out. Like, you know, I would lose my breath to the point where I would have to submit, or just run out of oxygen.
Okay. And you guys were online like all the time then, right? There was videos being produced on a daily basis.
Yes.
Okay. And you were part of the people that were online, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you testified now that he strangled you to the point where you would lose your breath. And you testified earlier that you had busted lips, is what you said. You had black eyes, and you had strangulation. So being that all those things were happening to you, and you guys were online every single day, multiple times a day, there would be videos that would reflect you having marks around your neck because of your skin complexion, black eyes, and busted lips. Those videos would exist online, correct?
They don't exist online because I was not online in every live. When he would strangle me and hit me in my face and I would have these bruises, I was staying off the line. And it got to a point where, because I started out as such a social media presence and I was relatively online a lot of the times, the community, the social media followers, they would ask me in these periods of time when I would have bruises, maybe like 4 to 5 days at the most, they would ask, where am I? Why is she not present? And then there was a whole uproar when those times would happen. But I stayed behind the scenes and I didn't get online. And Eligio Bishop purposely didn't put me online because obviously he knew that would incriminate him. But there is one video that I personally know of to be true. This is when a woman that we named Mama Dia had actually passed away in the cold, whatever. There's a video where you can actually see where he had physically abused me, but for the most part, he did not want me to be online because it was very apparent.
Okay, and the other women that were there, they would have seen you being abused, right?
Not necessarily, because most of the abuse happened behind closed doors, so we had our own quarters away from everybody else. So he would physically abuse me in these quarters, but there were times where women were present watching me be physically abused, especially on July 4th.
Well, I'm saying if you had a black eye and busted lips, other people would have noticed that.
Well, yeah, when he would physically abuse me and we would have meetings and I would come back into the circle, yeah, like everybody saw it, everybody knew it.
Okay, so the other women would have saw that.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. All right. Now, in 2020, the relationship, it ended at that point, right?
Excuse me.
Your relationship with Mr. Bishop ended in 2020, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And 2021, you were not around. March 20.
Is that a no?
No.
Okay.
March 24th, 2022, you were not around, right? Okay. You did continue to make YouTube videos about Mr. Bishop, though, correct?
I did.
Okay. You made YouTube videos about him in 2022, correct?
I believe so.
You even made YouTube videos about, correct?
Yes, I did.
You made one with Solar, who is your child's father, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and her husband, right?
Whose husband?
Is it your husband or
It's not my husband.
no? Well, it's Miss.
My husband is married to Jayon.
Oh, my
Already.
husband. Oh, he's not married.
No.
Okay. Who is he married to?
He out of pocket.
She goes by Zoka.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So Courtney is married to who? Or Courtney
Courtney
Townsend?
Townsend
Uh-huh.
is married to Jayon. I don't know her last name. She goes by Zoka.
Okay. Was ever married?
No.
Okay, so she was never married to Courtney Townsend at all?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now, when your dad came to Mexico, the 3 times that he was there, how long did he stay each time?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay.
It's too much of a blur.
Too much of a blur. Okay. Would you say it was more or less than a week?
Less. It was less.
Less than a week
I
each
think-
time?
I think it was
Okay.
less.
All right. Okay. Now, you also testified earlier when you first came to the group that you were a student in college, right?
I was.
Okay, and you were going to school for agriculture,
I
and
did.
you left your stuff and went to Costa Rica,
Yes.
right? And then you went there because you wanted to be with somebody named Olmec. Is that correct?
I did not go there because I wanted to be with Olmec. I went there because I felt like the goal, the quote unquote mission, and what Nature Boy was teaching was how I wanted to live.
Okay.
Olmec just happened to be somebody that I connected with, and we decided to be in a romantic relationship.
You and Olmec.
Yes.
Okay, and you had to meet with Mr. Bishop on video before you went there, right?
I didn't meet with him on video, but I talked to him over the phone.
Okay. All right, so I think you testified earlier you had to meet with him before you ever came to the group. That was just a phone conversation.
You have to speak to him before coming. Like, you can't just go there. You have to speak to him. And whatever that looks like if he wanted to have a video call with you, then that's what it was. If he wanted to have a phone call with you, then that's what it was. If he wanted to text you, that's what it was. It just so happened to be with me. It was just a phone call.
Okay, I know you like Neek. Really? Yes. Just a reminder, but I'm backing out. www.neekatnight.com. Check it out.
Okay. Now, you testified earlier that there were rules that were there when you went there, and so some of the rules that you thought were strange was you couldn't use the bathroom was the words you used, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it true that you couldn't use the bathroom, or that you guys were going back to nature and you were using the bathroom outside?
It's just the way that we was using the bathroom.
Okay, so it's not
the
true that
problem.
you couldn't use the bathroom.
I couldn't use a bathroom with a toilet and a tub. I couldn't use that bathroom, so I had to go outside and dig a hole to use the bathroom.
Well, wasn't that the choice that you left North Carolina, wherever you were, to go live in the nature?
Initially, when I joined or before I joined, he never told me like, hey, we're going to be using the bathroom like this, prepare for it. When I got there, it was just like, oh, this is how we use the bathroom. So I had to adapt.
Okay, so when you say something like we couldn't use the bathroom, isn't that a bit disingenuous to say we couldn't use the bathroom when that was just a way of life there?
No, I just feel like the reason why I worded it like that is because I feel like he used the bathroom as a way to have control over us, and by us not using the bathroom with a toilet and a bathtub, I was actually told and actually saw it at one point in time, like he would watch everybody use the bathroom. So like you would be naked.
You were told that yourself?
By
who?
one of the members.
That you were told by somebody else that he watched us use the bathroom?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so.
All right. So you also testified do you recall testifying at a prior hearing?
Excuse me?
Do you recall testifying at a prior hearing before today?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall testifying that you said another big rule was that we couldn't speak to our family and that if we did, we got scolded, right?
Correct.
And I think you testified something similar to that today, right?
Yeah.
But you never said at that time that your father had come down there and visited you several times, did you?
It didn't matter.
Okay.
My dad was going to come regardless.
Okay.
I didn't have to have contact with him. He was coming
Okay.
to save me, to get me.
Right. You never said that you had left there numerous times as well, right?
In the last hearing, no, I didn't.
And let me ask you a better question. So 2017, 2018, there was no issues according to you, right?
In 2018, there were issues.
Okay.
2017, there weren't issues.
But the issue that you were speaking of, it happened in 2019 where there was some real violence, right? That's what your testimony, right? 2019?
2018, real violence was happening.
Okay.
When I was pregnant with my daughter,
When did you
maybe
get pregnant?
About 4 months pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
he got mad at me because I didn't want him to be polygamous. And he is slapping me on the top of my head and my nose is bleeding and everybody's in the car watching it.
Okay. When did you become pregnant with that child? When in 2018?
I can't recall the months. It's 2 months. It's just
You don't know the
too much.
birth date of your child?
If I can sit here with you right now and pull out a calendar so we can correct these dates or figure out at what part of the timeline.
Ma'am,
I've had 3 children.
All right, hold on. All right, can we try to answer the question if you can, okay?
That's what I'm telling him. It's like these timelines run into each other. So from 2018 to 2019, if I could look at
I can re-ask the question for you.
All right, let him ask the question a different way.
Can you tell me the date your child was born?
January 18, 2019 is when she was born.
Okay. So it's fair to say that the child was conceived sometime in the spring of 2018, right?
Yes.
Okay. So with you being a few months pregnant, as you testified, it would be summer or fall of 2018, right?
I don't know because we was in the tropics. In the tropics, the environment is literally the same all the time. So you're asking me if it's the fall. I can't. It's not compared. The environment in Central America is not the same environment in the United States.
Okay.
So if I'm going to jog my memory to figure out this timeline, I literally have to look at a calendar so that I can go back because I had her 5 years ago.
Okay.
And so much is going on.
Okay. And you left in 2020, correct?
Yes.
What month?
November.
November 2020. All right. So, and your testimony earlier was 3 or 4 times, or 4 times at least, that you managed to leave, and at least 10 times that you attempted to leave, right?
Yes.
That wasn't including those 4 times, right? There were 10 other times that you attempted to leave but just failed, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in 2017, you didn't try to leave based on that because there was no issues. In 2018, you haven't testified anything about trying to leave. So is the 14 times that you either attempted to leave or left were essentially in 2019, right?
No. In 2018, during my pregnancy, I attempted to leave in Belize. This was around the time I conceived, maybe 2 months.
Okay.
It failed. And then in January, or after January, after I had my baby, I obviously had more opportunities to leave. So that's when it started to get up in number
Okay.
for me to leave.
But you didn't in fact actually leave until 2019, though, right? Once you had your child.
Y'all think he making his point? What he getting to, y'all? Let me know in the chat.
I left and then I came back
Yeah.
That
So
the same day, I think.
yeah, but you told us earlier under directed cross-examination that you left 4 times that would range from 2 to 3 months. So if you left 4 times that would range from 2 to 3 months, you wasn't even there in 2019 for most of the year.
No, this is over a timeline. This is over a course of 3 years.
But you said that
I'm
you didn't
talking
leave.
about-
You didn't leave in 2017. You didn't leave in 2018. So that only leaves 2019 and 2020. So if you're gone at least 4 times for 2 to 3 months over 2019 to 2020, you were gone for large portions of 2019 and 2020.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because if I'm there even for 3 months and I'm experiencing physical violence every day, how does that? What correlation does that have with me not being there for majority of the year? If I experienced domestic violence, I experienced it, whether it was 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days, or a month to a year.
Okay.
It happened.
All right. And you witnessed physical abuse within other people in the group as well, right?
I have witnessed physical abuse with other members in the group.
Lots of times, right?
No, just one time.
Just one time. So there's only one other time that you witnessed physical abuse in the entire group.
Yeah, with Malia or Tanisha DeLay.
Okay, that was Malia is who?
Tanisha.
Tanisha DeLay. Okay, where is she up there? Okay, Tanisha DeLay on the second.
How he don't know his
So
clients?
out of the 3 years that you were there, you were present the entire time. It was only one time that you witnessed physical abuse, and that was with Malia, who is Tanisha DeLay. That's
Yeah.
it. No other physical abuse.
At one point in time, I heard. I didn't even somebody else said it.
Okay,
That,
well, we can't go into what other people say. So
well, I mean, it's
I'm asking.
relevant at this point if that's the case.
All right,
but
just,
yes,
hold on, don't argue with them, just answer the questions, okay?
So my question to you is, you witnessed it yourself one time over
Yes.
3 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, you also didn't like the fact that he was in a polygamous relationship, right?
correct.
Okay. It upset you that he wanted to be with other women.
No, it upset me that he wanted to sleep with me and he wanted to be with other women.
Okay. So you do agree at a prior hearing you testified that my issue was that he wanted to sleep with everybody.
Say that again.
My issue was that he wanted to sleep with everybody.
Yeah, and then come sleep with me. I didn't want him to feel like he can sleep with everybody and then come sleep with me.
Okay.
That's my problem. You can sleep with whoever you want to, but don't come try to sleep with me.
Okay.
And if you want to sleep with me, you can't sleep with everybody.
Okay. And that upsets you a whole bunch, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You're still upset about that, right?
No.
Okay.
Because I'm not with him. I don't have to sleep with him or anybody else if I want to.
All right. Now, you also indicated that okay. In Atlanta in 2020, you were living here, correct?
No.
You didn't stay in Atlanta in 2020?
No.
Okay. When did you stay in Atlanta? Let me ask you a different question. Did you ever stay here in Atlanta in 2020?
I don't remember.
You don't remember
staying
staying?
in Atlanta in 2020?
Okay. So do you ever remember staying with him in a house here in Atlanta in 2020?
I don't remember staying with him in a house in 2020, but I remember staying in Atlanta with him in a house. I don't remember what year it was though.
Okay. Who else was staying there then?
Tanisha, no, yeah, well, she had just first came. Tanisha DeLay had first came. Aya was there. Courtney was there. True was there. Loya was there. Pice, Kite. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, do you remember earlier you testified? I just asked you if you remember the people that were living here in Atlanta. and you gave me a list of people. And I guess I can repeat it back to you to make sure I'm not misquoting you before I ask you this. But Malia, who was the queen, right? Those are on the board right there. Malia, which is Tanisha DeLay, right?
Yep.
Aya?
Combination, yeah.
Aya,
Yes.
Courtney,
Yes.
Loyal,
Yes.
True.
Yes.
I can't remember if I wrote Pice or Kite. Kite?
Both.
There's somebody named
and
Pice?
Kite.
Okay, there's a Pice and a Kite?
Yeah.
Okay. And this was all in 2020?
I don't remember that year.
Okay. Mr. Bishop was there,
Yes.
right? Okay. And this was at some point you lived in the house in Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It was 2 houses though. Is that right? Were there 2 houses?
Not to mine. It was one house that I ever stayed in Atlanta with Eligio Bishop.
Okay. So 1 house.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What about in 2018? Where were you living in? I think you said Texas, right?
Yeah, because we got deported from Costa Rica, and then we went to Texas. I don't remember how long we was living there, but it was no more than 3 or 4 months, probably even less. And then we traveled to Ohio, and we stayed on a college campus with somebody who he knew from there. We stayed there for maybe like 3 months maybe. And then we started traveling back to Central America. And we just traveled through many places until we landed in Mexico. Actually, we landed in Belize. And then I got pregnant in Belize. And then we started traveling about again to like many different places until we settled in Mexico at some point.
Okay. When did
When did she leave?
When did she live with you?
I remember her coming when, in 2017, I remember her when she came for like the 1-2 day thing. I don't remember any other time she was there until the incident that happened in 2020 when,
Where was that at?
this was in California.
In California. Okay.
Yes.
Not Mexico.
That was a separate occasion. Did she travel with us? I believe she traveled with us from California. Yeah, she did, because we was in California. We all traveled to Las Vegas. He made us get married.
So this would have been after the time y'all got married?
Excuse me?
This would have been after the time y'all got married?
This was before.
You just said he made y'all get married.
This was in the process. So,
Wait. Hold on, ma'am. So is this in the process? Is it before or after y'all got married?
she was with us before we got married.
Okay. So he made y'all get married in California in 2020, though?
No, Las Vegas, we got married.
Las Vegas. Okay, West Coast. Got married 2020. Is that
yes.
Yes.
okay? Is that when you guys left California and went to Mexico or Vegas?
No. We traveled in a car from California to Las Vegas, and then we traveled to Mexico in a car.
Okay. All right.
Was with us at that time. We settled in Mexico, and she eventually left in Mexico.
She eventually left. Okay, so you guys met her in California. Y'all drove to Las Vegas where everybody got married.
I'm gonna let you finish answering the question.
Thank you. Y'all drove to Las Vegas where everybody got married and then drove to Mexico. Is that correct?
When I came back at that time, she was already there. And
Already
yes,
where?
She was already in California. When I had came back, she had already been there. And then we started traveling together. And then we settled in Mexico together.
Where'd you come back from?
Louisiana.
Okay, how long had you been gone from Louisiana?
I'm not sure.
Give me a guesstimate.
I don't know.
A month, 2 months, a week?
I don't know. Or if you can give me some time to think about it, I'll think about it.
You still thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say I was in Louisiana for no more than maybe 2 or 3 months. 3 months at the most.
2 or 3 months
at the
before.
least.
Okay. 2 or 3 months before you came to California, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And then how long
Yes.
are you? How long are you in California?
I don't know. I literally don't know.
Did y'all leave and go to Las Vegas right away, or was it something that you were there for a while?
No, it wasn't right away. It was a transition. Like,
Okay. It was a transition.
yeah.
Okay.
At all the times it was. It was never like we just like hopped up and left. We always traveled by car.
Okay.
The only times it was immediate, like a hop up and leave, was when we got deported and we had to fly. And when we went to Puerto Rico. But for the most part, we traveled by car. So it was drawn out of us getting to where we stayed long term.
Okay. And so you were you were in California on July 4th, though, right?
Yes.
You had to be that day, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because that's the day that you said that people got you in a circle and they beat you up,
Yes.
right? Remember saying that?
Eligio Bishop beat me up. They didn't beat me up.
Okay. They didn't beat you up. All right. And so it was just him.
Yes.
Okay. And this was, he beat you up and then he asked you, did you want to go to the hospital, though, right?
Yes.
He offered you to take you to the hospital after beating you up.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And this was, I think, as you said, in a park, right?
Yes.
And no other people within the park witnessed it.
Not that I know of.
You're out there 45 minutes to an hour. Nobody witnesses 15 to 20 people in a park beating up a person.
Not that I know of. And nobody called the police. There's nobody. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if someone did or if they didn't. I just remember being in a circle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Almost done with you. Going to the 24th day of March 2022, you were not present in a house here in Atlanta at that time, were you?
No.
Okay. And had you, I think you testified that on that date, you were not even in contact with Mr. Bishop at that time, right?
No.
Okay. But you did make a video with Solar where you commented on the believability of Miss, right?
Did I commented on the what?
The believability of.
The believability. Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm. And you thought that she was a
Objection, hearsay, and
it's her side.
commenting on the credibility.
She can't comment on the credibility of another witness, counsel.
Sure.
Sustain the objection.
And you made that interview. I'm not going to ask you what you said, but you made that video with Courtney Townsend. Solar, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because you and Courtney Townsend had online presence together, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You have a child with Mr. Bishop that's 5 years old, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the child that is with Mr. Courtney Townsend, which is 3 months old.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey yo, if you enjoy this content, please support the channel at. And oh yeah, don't forget to follow me on all my social media platforms, especially Rumble, because I can put content on there that I can't put on YouTube. So please support that. I will put my beacon link in the description box. That way you can follow me on all social media, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. You can follow me wherever. Please support the movement. CV Killer forever.